Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outliers YouTube channel and our program, Get to Know. I'm your host, DP Lyle, and I'm here with my co host and partner in crime, Kathleen Antrim.
We need some more crime adventures.
Yes, we do.
I am so excited today. We have got a fantastic guest. We've got a bestseller. She has gotten starred reviews. I need to get my piece of paper because there's so many starred reviews here. Library Journal and Book List. She was Entertainment Weekly's best summer book read of the year. She's been featured in Vanity Fair. She's been part of the CBS New York Book Club. This is going to be a great interview. Welcome, Sara DiVello.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
And I didn't say the name of your book, Broadway Butterfly, which is a thriller. Yeah. Yay. So Doug knows I always start off with a couple unusual questions, mainly because I have a theory about how we writers become writers. So I want to ask you about your childhood and what kind of a childhood you had, and if you think it contributed to you becoming an author. Were you shy? Did you read? Were you outgoing? What have you? Fill us in. What's the scoop?
So I was a super shy child, and I was a voracious reader, an early reader and a voracious reader. So I actually grew up in a family that couldn't afford books. Books were luxury items. So every 2 weeks, my family would go to the library and we would fill our grocery bags up with books, and I would take them home. It was the best day of the week, and I quickly read through the children's and YA sections. So then I would just visit my friends and take them home for 2 weeks and then bring them back because I'd read everything. And then I started reading adult books while I was still a kid, still a teenager, and started reading my way through the adult section as well. Books have always been a source of comfort, inspiration, salvation, a path forward, knowing that other people have blazed that trail, walked that path, and that I could too. So I am a huge, grateful reader.
So when did you decide you were going to be a writer? Like, did you think about that as a child? Was it something that came to you later in life? Fill us in.
So I knew I wanted to be a writer as soon as I realized that those books did not magically appear on those library shelves, that people had actually written them. So that was probably around the age of 8. When I was 5, I wanted to be a librarian because I thought the best thing to be would be to be in this place surrounded by books. What could be better? And then probably around 8, I realized, oh my gosh, it isn't just that these books exist there. People have written them and they have been placed there. And then I desperately wanted to be one of those people. But again, coming from a family that didn't have any means, I never thought I could be one of those people. So I, was the first in my family to go to college. I worked my way through college. I came out and got a responsible job because even working my way through, I still had to take a ton of student loans. So then I had to get a job that could repay those student loans. And then of course, all those real world responsibilities like car payments, mortgages, all that good stuff. And so that dream of wanting to be a writer and hoping to be a writer, stayed nestled in my heart for many, many years until finally I thought, if not now, then when? And I just decided I had to do it.
Interesting. I told myself exactly the same thing. I had stories. I said, when I retire, I will do that for my medical practice. But about 25 years ago, I said, I'm not going to retire in the foreseeable future. So if not now, when? Those are the exact words I said to myself. Well, what drew you to true crime?
I think that what I love about true crime is that I am hashtag Team Twain. I think Mark Twain got it right. I think truth is stranger than fiction, and I love that. I love to explore the intricacies of humanity and all of the rich wholeness that makes us human, the dark sides, the light sides, those, primal urges that, fear, greed, desire, all of those things that drive people to do seemingly impossible, crazy things that people start out saying, I would never. And anytime someone says, oh, I'd never, I think challenge accepted, because I will prove to you that you would, because at the ultimate deepest part of us, all living things want to survive. All living things seek survival first and foremost. And so any of us would actually do anything in order to survive. And I like to explore that.
I love that. And one of the things I love is moral bankruptcy, exploring moral bankruptcy. And yeah, I totally get that. So tell us about Broadway Butterfly and how that book came to be. And is it the first book you wrote?
It's the second book I wrote and the first mystery. So
Okay.
Broadway Butterfly is the 100% true story. Ooh, there she is, of a murdered flapper named Dot King, who was found murdered in her bed on March 15th, 1923, wearing only a lace negligee that barely reached her knees. And that first of shocking detail was turned out to be one of many shocking details that tantalized and the entire newspaper reading population of first New York, then the United States, then the world, as the investigation persists, uncovering all the Dot King's circle of friends runs from the gangster underworld all the way up to the White House. It's told 4 points of view, which is the head of the NYPD Detectives Unit, John D. Coughlin, who led the investigation, Julia Hartman, who is the lead crime reporter who covers the investigation, Ella Bradford, who was the victim's closest confidant and friend, and the most valuable police source that the police had, and a wealthy society woman who's one of the foremost powerful women in society, who is preparing to host President Harding, who has just announced that he's running for re-election. And one of the things I wanted to explore was, how much has changed in 100 years and how absolutely nothing has changed in 100 years.
Isn't it the truth? Human beings are human beings. We really don't evolve, do we? So
Exactly.
those are all real characters. So how did you come upon the story? And, how did it inspire you to go ahead and spend well, I'm going to assume about a year writing it and, you're promoting it, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
So it took me 10 years to write it, working on it every single day of my life. So in November 2013, I'm from Philadelphia. I was home visiting my family for Thanksgiving, as I am every year. And, the day after Thanksgiving, there's not a lot to do. You're sitting around eating your leftovers. And my uncles were sharing that back in the 60s, after high school let out, they used to sneak over to the old castle where they'd sit on the castle's, lawn and sneak cigarettes and drink beers. And I thought, oh my gosh, you guys were bad boys, but that sounds like a lot of fun. And then I said, wait, what castle? Because my aunt lives in a very normal, very modest suburban neighborhood where everything is a split level ranch circa 1950, 6 steps up, 6 steps down, and they all look exactly alike. So I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't see what castle. And they said that, it had since been razed to the ground, but back in the, in the 1980s, but back then there was a still standing, Gilded Age mansion that there are still ruins of. So all 11 of us pile in the car. We drive, a mile away to the next suburban development. And there between the tulip beds and the Subarus are indeed the ruins of a once great estate. There's, 50-foot tall pillars that once formed the grand entrance of this private home, then the 3rd largest private home in the country, bigger than the White House. And headless statues of Diana, and right next to someone's little red wagon, is a headless statue of Zeus and the remnants of a fountain. And it was so bizarre. It looked like you're standing in ancient, standing in Greece, in Rome or Greece, looking at the ruins of the Acropolis or, any ruins, but I'm standing in suburban Philadelphia. And I was like, what is this place? And so I dove down the research rabbit hole. I learned everything about this, this home and this family. It had 147 rooms, 28 bathrooms, 24 fireplaces, its own ballroom, its own radio station, its own movie theater, 70 full-time gardeners just to maintain the exquisite landscaping on the 300 acres. I mean, these people lived a level of wealth and privilege that we cannot even fathom today. And I learned everything about them. I'm like, well, that was interesting, but DiVello's not in the castle writing business. And so I left the story, but I couldn't stop thinking about them because I sensed there was a story there. And 3 months later, I went back to it and I found, a book from 1953 called Scandalous Philadelphia, the 100 most shocking things to ever rock the Quaker city. Let me tell you, it doesn't take much to rock a Quaker. And there was one paragraph with one sentence that said, oh, in 1923, this Gilded Age grand family, the wealthiest family in Pennsylvania, J.P. Morgan's founding partner, found themselves in a tough situation when they turned out to be associated with a murder. And I knew that was my story and I had to tell it.
Wow. So obviously they were associated with Dot King.
Yes, they were.
Shape or form.
Yes.
Wow. That's really cool.
It was amazing. And then the more, twists and turns that I uncovered and, learning that Dot was, involved with Arnold Rothstein and Nucky Johnson from, if you guys ever watched Boardwalk Empire, those guys were
right. Yeah.
She was involved with them. She knew them. She worked with them. And so the case just got, as Alice in Wonderland says, curiouser and curiouser. And it was all 100% true, which was just mind-boggling and fabulous and fascinating. So I actually couldn't believe how good the story was and how amazing these human beings were. And I just felt this incredible burden and also solemn responsibility to try to honor these real-life people and their choices in their lives.
Now it's coming out August 1st. Is that right? Or yeah,
it came out August 1st.
August
yes, sir.
of last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You put on the cover, you call it a thriller, but it's really true crime, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did something that's never been done before, to my knowledge, which is that it is a true crime. Everything in it is 100% true, but it's told in the style of a thriller, of a novel, of a traditional whodunit. Yeah. And so there wasn't a name for that. And so because, as you know, it always comes down to where they're going to shelve you. They can't shelve you in both nonfiction and fiction. They can't call you both fiction and nonfiction. So ultimately we had to decide if it's a true story, but it's told in the style of a novel, where do you shelve it and what do you call it? And because we ultimately felt that the style was more associative for readers than the truth of it, we branded it as a thriller to let people know, because I think when you say true crime, people expect an in cold blood journalistic style telling. And that's not what it is. It's like, if you read this, you'd never know it's a true story until you get to the end and you're like, oh my God, it's true. And so that's why we called it a thriller, because it reads like a novel. And ultimately, when readers are looking for it, it doesn't ultimately matter if it's true or not. I mean, it matters to me, but what matters is the reader's experience is that of a thriller.
Cool.
I love that. Absolutely. I mean,
which of course is what Capote tried to do with In Cold Blood. I mean, he arrogantly said that he has created a new genre, and he probably did, but he called it faction. And he said that there was enough fiction in it to make it not really true, but true, because he had to suppose a lot of things in that story, which made it not clearly true crime. But anyway, so I guess you have him to thank for this anyway, to a certain extent. And of course, Erik Larson does the same thing with his stuff in a similar way, but a little different.
And interestingly, Erik Larson is shelved in nonfiction and has received many awards for nonfiction. Yeah. But he's allowed to do that. And I don't know why that is.
But if you read it, it reads like a novel.
A dry novel.
Yeah, a dry novel. No question it's factual. No question it's heavy on facts and stuff. But it does. I remember Dead Wake was well done, and the Splendid and the Vile was well done. And anyway, cool.
Yeah, I read Devil in the White City, loved it. But you can tell, like, that style of factual retelling where you're only quoting the newspaper articles, where you're only quoting original sources, is what I would call that more journalistic style. And that's not what mine is.
Good.
You've written it just like a novel, which is fantastic for especially anybody who loves thrillers. And I think it's just an extra bonus when you realize, oh my gosh, this actually happened. Because you get to bring all those characters to life, which is
exactly. You're
so
in
cool.
the character when you're in their chapter. You're in that. You're in that character.
Very cool. So what are you working on now?
So, Kathy, I just did my last in-person event of my book tour last Thursday. And so I just got home. My head is still spinning. And I am catching up on life. I'm catching up on my Mystery and Thriller Mavens author interview series, my podcast.
And we definitely want to talk about that. You've got to fill us in on Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Yes, tell us about that.
Yay. Yeah. So I started Mystery and Thriller Mavens, and Dr. Lyle's coming on when his book comes out later this spring. So yeah, I started it in the spring of 2020. So I can't believe it because I started in March of 2020. So it's been almost 4 years, when the pandemic descended and all of my events were canceled. All of everyone's events were canceled. We were all holed up at home. And I, thought, well, my original hope had been that Broadway Butterfly would come out on March 15th, 2020, on the day that Dot died. And in hindsight, thank goodness it didn't.
Right.
Because that was a very tough time to have a book come out. But I kept thinking, what about all these poor folks whose books are coming out, who have spent years and thousands of hours researching and writing and editing? I don't have to tell you guys how much work it is, only to have it come out when the world is now holed up at home. And I thought, how can I support them? How can I help them? Because I had so much empathy, because what if it had been me? And so I thought, I just want to help them reach readers and get the word out about their books. And so I just, hopped online and started doing interviews. And I thought it would be a couple of weeks. And then, of course, I blinked and it's been 4 years and I think 450 interviews. And I've had the, incredible honor and privilege of interviewing everybody from, the great staples of our genre, from, Dean Koontz, Patricia Cornwall, Jeffrey Deaver, Anne Perry, I can't even think, to, debuts who really need the support, who don't know anybody, who are brand new here. And so I always say, my tagline is, I'm connecting readers to their favorite writers and introducing them to their next favorite writers. So I hope I've built up that trust, and now people can say, Sarah's got a good, got her finger on the pulse, and I'll give an author I've never heard of a try, because those are the folks that can, really benefit from it. We all have to start somewhere.
That's absolutely fantastic and so important. So first, tell us how we can buy Broadway Butterfly, and then I want to tell our listeners how they can go ahead and log on and hear your podcast.
So Broadway Butterfly is available however you like to read. She's a hardcover, she's a paperback, she's an audiobook, she's a Kindle, she's an ebook. She is anywhere and everything, because I think the most important thing is that everybody can read in a way that's accessible to them. The most important is that we're all able to enjoy stories. So however you like to enjoy your stories, she's available at independent bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. And I would be so grateful. So if anyone gets a copy of my Butterfly, let me know what you think. I'm always curious to hear how it resonates with you. I read my good reviews and I read my bad reviews too. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And for my Mystery and Thriller Mavens, I broadcast live to six destinations across Facebook and YouTube simultaneously, because some folks aren't Facebook folks and some people aren't YouTube folks. So again, I want to be accessible to everybody. So I am on my channels. I am very mysterious. It's my name, Sara DiVello, on both YouTube and Facebook, as well as I stream my interviews in collaboration with Murder by the Book, which is an incredible woman-owned independent bookstore in Houston, Texas, and one of 3 dedicated mystery and thriller bookstores in the US. And so I'm available on their Facebook and YouTube channels as well. And then I also have some streaming partnerships with some mega Facebook groups. So I have a Mystery and Thriller Facebook group as well, where I take requests for author interviews, where we dish about what we're reading, where all the good tea is spilled. And then I also have 2 other streaming partnerships with mega Facebook groups that go out to their members as well. So wherever you like to
Lots
watch
of ways.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to be
Absolutely.
accessible to everybody. Everybody should get to be part of the conversation.
I think that's wonderful. Absolutely. Well, Sara, it's been great to have you. You are a fantastic interview. We've got to have you back. And I can't wait to see what you come up with next. Want to ask our viewers to please go ahead and click the thumbs up. It helps with our algorithms. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so we can bring you a lot more of these great interviews. And Sara DiVello, we can't wait to have you back. You're fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you so much, Doug. And I look forward to hosting you all on Mystery and Thriller Mavens when your next
Love
book's
it.
around as well.
Looking forward to it. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
So this has been Get to Know on the Outliers YouTube channel. So until next time, we'll see you then.